In this edition of Out of the Blue, the Spanish passion for Irish fish, a lunch guest with attitude. High-tech protection from Big Brother as the salmon struggle to survive in a Kerry river. The artist whose work is daily claimed by the ocean. And the key to our inland waterways. It's a summer's morning in the estuary of the Kenmare River in County Kerry. The merest ripple turns the surface of the water. There's a gentle heat in the air and the perfume of pine in the breeze. This really is a magnificent spot. And it's no surprise to learn that for a century or two, this has been a magnet for the more discerning kind of tourist. It's also been a transit camp for tens of thousands of migrating salmon, perhaps since time began. And they afforded traditional netsmen a decent enough living for centuries, for centuries. That was until more recent times when monofilament netting and other predation, pure greed, devastated salmon stocks. Some would say that perhaps too late the state woke up to the fact that a great natural national asset was under serious threat. But at least now the salmon have lines of defence. The first of them is the offshore patrol boat.
Our conservation basically centres on the fishing effort. The commercial fishing effort for drift nets begins on the 1st of June, and they fish 4 out of 7 days per week, that with no fishing at all from 6 a.m. Friday morning. So Friday, Saturday and Sunday, the fish have an opportunity to enter the estuaries and the rivers. The salmon stocks, if they're to be sustained in the long term, that it's in a lot of different people's interests that should happen. So the job that we're doing and the conservation measures that we're bringing in, they mightn't meet with universal approval, but they certainly really seem to be moving in the right direction. And in a general way, most people are prepared to be compliant once they see that the same rule will be applied to everybody.
There's on board, he said everything is okay, the man is quite legal and he has nothing at the moment.
What goes through your head when you see that big patrol boat coming in?
We don't take a lot of notice of it.
We don't take no notice.
Tell you the truth.
That nest is not meant to catch fish, they're meant to stop fish. You know what I mean? They don't mesh in it.
Oh, really?
There's a bag in the middle of it, like a trawl. The fish are not meshed.
Well, what's the best haul you can remember? Or the best days?
365, 1 year.
In one day.
In one haul of fish.
Oh, good.
With 500 the same day, boy. Yeah, that was the biggest. Yeah, 365 fish.
Fish.
In one single haul?
Yeah,
of the
big
night?
fish, yeah.
And all big fish.
We had oars at the time, we had no engine, you know, it was manpower. So the good year of me, yeah.
That's the sum total for this summer. 6. There's no salmon anymore anyway. Doesn't pay.
If the fishing is so poor, why on earth would you want to stay at it?
Well, it's traditional, our fathers were at it, and our grandfathers were at it. If we weren't out here and there was salmon jumping here, we would do nothing else, we'd have to be out here.
This river, the Kerry Blackwater, a mini Amazon, is the way to the spawning beds for the intrepid salmon. In this narrow waterway, the fish are vulnerable to poachers, and it's heavily guarded. But what a journey through green water and enchanted glades, to leap waterfalls, to clear every obstacle to breed, And there's high-tech help from Big Brother, a benign eye greeting every fish like a friend returned from abroad.
Well, what happens is that it's connected to a weir, a concrete weir, which is down here. And what happens is when the fish actually process up these electrodes, he breaks the signal. And that sends back a signal here to the computer, which is the counter, and it is printed out here on paper. So we know exactly the time, the date, and in fact, we can go very close to the size of fish that went up.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, can you actually judge the quality of the fish?
We can actually. We can see this fish here now, which is a lovely grills. And these electrodes, even physically looking at it, are 45 centimeters apart. So we know that this fish is actually over 45 centimeters. He's almost 60 centimeters.
The counter can only tell you how many fish have gone up the river. That won't tell you if there's some boy up there with a net or a bag of lime or a stick of explosive.
No, that's still up to me. I still have to go out and search at night and do through patrols on the river. Of course, we have fishery officers that's doing that, Derek, yeah.
A river developed for angling is a huge boost to the local economy and generally well policed. Anglers take relatively few fish. Each angler, another pair of eyes, watching out for the welfare of the water. This rusty angler should have checked before travelling. The water's low, the river narrow, the two-handed rod too big. But the water weaves its own spell and washes away the shame of incompetence. Oh, so there are fish in this river?
Why, did you not catch any?
No. I think I was using an elephant gun to shoot rabbits. That's a nice wee fish.
It is, yeah, I got lucky.
As we see the river and the banks today, I mean, they are perfect for fishing. I mean, there's plenty of clearance, you can cast a fly, there's good access. What was the fishery like before it was taken over, what, 5 years ago?
Oh, it had deteriorated really into a wilderness. You know, most of the pools, this pool was open, but most of the pools weren't open. They were just completely overgrown. There was no bridges over the streams. Just a wilderness. You couldn't fish it, really.
So with the redevelopment of the river, would that be well regarded locally?
Oh, I think so, yeah, very, very much so. It's, you know, it's virtually an industry.
I mean, when you think that, I mean, a poached fish, the poacher might be lucky to get 10 or 20 pounds for the fish. And the value of that fish as a tourist fish runs into hundreds.
Oh, yeah, yeah, to the area, a fish like that is worth anything, because most people would stay in the area, and often they would come for a week, you know. They all have to eat and live, go out at night and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's very positive for the area.
What advice would you give a visiting angler of limited competence with a very large two-handed salmon rod? Where would I fish?
I'd say it could be worse than actually go down there. There's a rock just below there, go down and fish inside that. I saw some fish moving down there earlier, you know, have a cast there.
All right, you're not fishing a fly?
No, I'm not. I'm fishing a spinner.
All right, okay, we're tight lines and we'll see how we both get on.
Good luck, good fishing.
You can see along the river, and we'll have a look at them later, are all grown, overgrown. And that's marvellous to see. That's not to say that the odd mink is around.
Sure.
But
the odd skunk with a net or a gaff?
Yes. But no, very odd though. And if a mink or a skunk moves here, I know it within 15 minutes. So the community are very good.
And is the policy to prosecute?
Oh yes, very much so. There's no tolerance at all whatsoever on poaching. There's no need for it. There is no families down here that are starving.
Do you think that some of the traditional men, the netsmen, and that they resent restrictions being put on them for the sake of the tourist industry?
Well, I would imagine that they would, a lot of times. I think they do. But having said that, you know, from a North Atlantic point of view, the salmon is in the decline. And we do certainly have to look very seriously at the conservation side of salmon from a broad side. It's very easy to look at one little system and say you have salmon coming back, but there are a lot more rivers in this county that are suffering.
Do you see many people putting their fish back?
Not yet, but we're working towards it.
I caught nothing, but was well pleased. The fishing experience here was wonderful. On a river that's been brought back from the brink, fit to fish and fit for fish. Another small step towards saving the salmon.
It's understood to have been tricked